stay anonymous. And finally, you have promoted the disarmament of individuals across the planet and backed tyrannical regimes in their attacks on innocents on a planetary scale. You dare to stand before the people of the world and claim that you represent the common man when everything you've done is to end human liberty and make us nothing more than domesticated slaves. Barack Obama is a tyrant of tyrants, and therefore Anonymous warns this figurehead that no more lies will be accepted, that the fraud is evident, and that the people of the world are awakening and are not intimidated. As Edward Snowden recently warned, the information that he and others will soon release will bring down corrupt Western governments. True Anonymous is peaceful and not violent, because the pen is mightier than the sword. We are Anonymous, we are Legion, and the State of the Union is a fraud.
Welcome to the live coverage of the INFOWARS nightly news of Obama's 2015 State of the Union. Now, you just heard the rebuttal from Anonymous, a little bit better than a rebuttal from Joni Ernst, but we're going to be talking about what Obama is talking about. And as we just heard, this is nothing but a fraud. Of course, the mainstream media is talking about Obama doing his Robin Hood turn. Actually, Obama is the King John, and he's going to be talking to the House of Lords. And these people have made themselves just as much of a ceremonial anachronism as the House of Lords truly is. So I've got with us in the studio here, we've got Leanne McAdoo and Jakari Jackson. Joe Biggs is going to be joining us as well to respond to what Obama is going to be talking about. And of course, from what we've learned in the preceding week, we know that he's going to be talking about a lot of different things, primarily about taxes, about free college education, which is not going to be free. He's also going to be talking about trade and a lot of news about the internet, trying to exert control, financial control over the internet. What are you guys looking for tonight?
My favorite part of the State of the Union is the Skeksis parade, when all the Skeksis come out and they clap for each other and they just clap and revel in their evilness. It's just an extended clap fest.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing him talk about.
There's Lindsey Graham.
Your best buddy, Lindsey Graham.
Right next to John McCain, where they always, you can't separate those two guys. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, just hear him talk about the war on terrorism, how he plans to combat that while continuing to fund our opposition overseas, and also hear about how he plans to help the economy. You know, we've seen a lot of things, banker bailouts. Now he's talking about the free college tuition. As we know, nothing is free. Somebody has to pay for it. So who is this going to be? I'm interested to see who that's going to end up being.
Well, and of course, normally this would be even more irrelevant because Obama is operating against a Congress that is controlled by the other party. Except that Obama is increasingly talking about how he really doesn't care about Congress. And of course, they're not going to take any power back. They're not going to try to use any checks or balances against Obama as they have a duty to under the Constitution. No, instead, they're simply going to be passing the checks around. Whether it's passing the checks out to the bureaucracy that does whatever it wishes and writes most of the laws, calling them regulations, or whether it's passing out the checks to his corporate sponsors, or as he's done in the past, passing out checks to his own members on the House floor as they're coming up for a vote on something that affects the people that are writing those checks that Boehner is passing out. Remember that? Can we get that clip?
The
Do you guys have that
tobacco
clip ready?
lobbyist.
Yeah, the tobacco lobbyist.
That's a great clip, a great find.
While we're waiting for them to come in, and he's going to be fashionably late, can we play that clip if you guys got that clip up? Okay, all right. We're going to get to that clip in a minute. Now, we were talking about how there's been a lot of trumpeting about how there's going to be a massive tax change, and this tax is what they're talking about with him playing Robin Hood. He's talking about doing $320 billion worth of taxes. And of course, it's kind of hard to get your head around numbers that are that large. So to give you an idea of what that amounts to, there's 84% of the countries in the world that have economies, the entire gross domestic product is that amount or less, $320 billion. That's how much social engineering Obama is proposing. And of course, this is more of a State of the Union in terms of revealing his plans and what really might happen than we've seen in the past, because again, he's going to make it happen with his executive orders. He talked about after the election, he really didn't care that the Congress had a majority of Republicans because he was going to push his climate agenda through. With his executive orders and with the permanent entrenched bureaucracy, like the EPA in this case, he doesn't have to go to elected representatives. And as far as he's concerned, it's absolutely irrelevant what you, the people, chose in the last election. And of course, we know the elections themselves are notoriously rigged, but even with that, he could care less. He's going to do whatever he wishes.
And it's going to be interesting to see how the president addresses Congress when this largely Republican majority was elected based on a referendum against his agenda.
Oh, here he comes.
Oh, here we go, the Skexy Parade. Oh,
I love how they set this up. It's like, you know, when you watch a boxing match and they come through the tunnel and all the fans are on both sides and they're slapping hands with the fans. That's what this reminds me of.
Except, Jakari, there's no opposition.
Yeah.
There isn't a boxing match.
Well, the American people, that's the opposition.
Oh, man. Here comes the turtle.
Yeah, Boehner's his sparring partner. They're really working for the same guys.
Oh, goodness. They're like, here you go, guys. Make us proud. We paid you a lot of money.
So it's quite the crowd. We'll see what he has to say. I just expect more lip service.
More broken promises.
One of the things he's been telling people is that he's going to give 2 years of free college, except he's got a lot of details that have been leaked about how he's going to change student loans, how he's going to set up pay as you earn. And of course, one might ask the question, well, if it truly is free college, why do we need student loans? If you read the details, he's talking about up to 75% of your tuition at junior college. So everything about this is a lie from the get-go. And if they want to talk about Robin Hood, we need to understand that Robin Hood took money from the rich and gave it to the poor. The people that are taking the money, the King Johns, the sheriff of Nottingham, these are the guys that Robin Hood is fighting against.
But this isn't even the super rich that he's targeting. He's targeting the, I guess you would call them upper middle class.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's the middle class is going to be saddled with the $60 billion free tuition bill. So
and they have leaked a lot of details of this. Reason we know a lot of what's going on with the details of the tax plan is because he's been leaking this for the last week, putting this out on social media. But again, couching it in terms that are favorable to him, couching it in terms that are actually lies, saying that I'm going to give you free tuition when in actuality, at most, it's going to be 75%. They're going to set this up to take this out as withholding from your paycheck if you get a job. And of course, you're going to be paying for this. We'll talk about this. We're going to analyze the implications of this. But of course, Obama wants to open up our colleges to illegal immigrants. That's been one of the big thrusts, of course, with the Dreamers. People who are 31 years old or less can come here and get free education. They can get in-state tuition anywhere in the country, unlike American citizens. And of course, if they're going to set up free college for 2 years, or even 75% of it for 2 years, guess who's going to be paying for that forever? American citizens will be paying for that.
That's right.
This is part of expanding Cloward and Piven, opening up the borders, bringing in people to consume education. And of course, the last time we heard that he was going to make something affordable was with Obamacare. How did that turn out?
The Affordable Care Act.
We're all going to find out here soon when we pay our taxes. I think a lot of people are going to be really surprised to see, you know, how much they like those plans they didn't get to keep.
And how he talked about the taxes would not increase, you know, and across the board taxes increase.
One of the things that's buried in this, the details, is that he is going to require employers with 10 or more employees, he's going to require them to set up individual retirement accounts. Now, the last time he did this, making health insurance affordable, that was initially called a mandate, and then very quickly they called it a tax to get it to pass the Supreme Court. Of course, it is a tax. Of course, it is income redistribution. He was playing Robin Hood with affordable health care, except that he was robbing the American people and giving it to the insurance companies and the banks. And that's what they've been doing all along.
Yeah, and we talked about that earlier, how the savings, retirement plans are the first things to go. The pensions are the first, place where they dip their hands in the pockets of pensions. So who's to say what's going to happen with the compounding interest in an IRA that your employers are mandated to give you? Absolutely.
And one of the first things he's going to do is take away education IRAs. That's part of this plan as well. So when he talks about free education, that's free education if you're going to be dependent on Washington. If you wanted to set aside money in a 509 plan, he's going to take that away from you.
Privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you
my exact same speech from last year.
There you go.
The speechwriters have such an easy job when it comes to the State of the Union. They just recycle it year after year.
Pretty much, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, please. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, my fellow Americans. We are 15 years into this new century. 15 years that dawned with terror touching our shores, that unfolded with a new generation fighting two long and costly wars.
Ooh, terror.
That saw a vicious recession spread across our nation and the world. It has been and still is a hard time for many. But tonight, we turn the page. Tonight, after a breakthrough year for America, our economy is growing and creating jobs at the fastest pace since 1999.
Many of those government jobs.
And low income, that you got to get 3 of them to feed your family and get food stamps.
Part-time jobs.
People have to have more jobs because they're losing their full-time jobs because the employers can't afford to pay for the Obamacare.
Walmart and other employers as well.
And now think with this new mandatory IRA, how many small businesses are going to also be pushed out. Can't do that.
The unemployment rate is now lower than it was before the financial crisis. More of our kids are graduating than ever before.
That's a lie.
Yeah, well, even if the kids are graduating, they don't have jobs to go to.
Well, when they talk about
they're making the parents work 10 times longer, which means the kids are neglected and stuck in this school system that is completely horrible.
That's right.
When they talk about unemployment, they're very careful about how they define that. They don't count.
Peanut gallery.
As we've been in almost 30 years.
I mean, can the guys say 2 sentences before they start clapping again?
They're like, lies, lies. They eat it up every year.
For the first time since 9/11, our combat mission in Afghanistan is over.
Oh, remember what happened last time? They applied.
Now we can sell the drugs freely.
Yeah.
6 years ago, nearly 180,000 American troops served in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Now we're sending them somewhere else.
Today, fewer than 15,000 remain. And we salute the courage and sacrifice of every man and woman in this 9/11 generation who has served to keep us safe.
Except for the American sniper. They didn't like that too much.
I mean, I have no issue with the troops. It's the missions that they send these guys on.
Calls it the 9/11 generation. What does it call it? The surveillance state generation.
Yeah, and then we have one of his invited guests was the Marine that was stuck in Mexico for all that time. He's taking credit for that.
He didn't do anything to get that guy.
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
No, he did not.
He's going to go ahead and scoop that up as a victory for his administration.
America, for all that we have endured, for all the grit and hard work required to come back, for all the tasks that lie ahead, know this: the shadow of crisis has passed, and the State of the Union is strong.
If you're going to talk about a shadow
of crisis has passed.
Talk about the shadow government that spies on us from the dark.
Sounds like the subtitle of a Black Ops video game. The shadow of crisis has passed.
At this moment,
I think
the
we're
growing economy, shrinking deficits,
bustling
industry,
he knows
booming energy production.
No one really
We have risen from recession freer to
Believes
right
anything
our
he